hell is going on with everything? There we go. Finally, finally, your snow Mexicans have arrived. Hey, you guys! Hi, Jen. Hi,
How's my
everybody.
sound? My sound's been off and on, so.
You sound fine. We're not using Discord, so you sound fine. Which is so weird, because it's like, why does your sound like shit on just Discord? Nowhere else, just
Nowhere
Discord.
else, just Discord. I don't understand.
I have
don't
a
get it.
feeling
Like,
that there's something to do in the settings in yours on your end that is just like reducing your audio quality for whatever fucking reason.
I think it might also have something to do with my earphones. You know, because like most of my problems have cropped up since I cleaned it, and I know that my brother put the earphones back in, and you know he came to try to fix my Discord, and what he did worked, and then like 2 days later it was just not working again. Hadn't touched the settings; they were still the same, and
There's got to be some sort of application or something that's like screwing with your audio settings or something weird like that. Yeah, Kyler, that sounds awful, dude. Those are always the worst. Ugh, when you're all bleh. But how's everyone doing? A couple people. Saw that you were on Pete's stream for a little bit. Was watching him before the show. It's me.
yeah, it's just I like a lot of the I like his crowd. I like pretty much most of his crowd. I haven't met everyone who he hosts, but you know, I have a lot of fun with Blind Girl because like I think we have a very similar sense of humor between her and I. So um, it's always fun to hang out with someone like that because then you just play jokes off each other, and I like that, and I like you know, I like everyone in there. It was just I saw Green had come in, and it was one of those articles that I'd gotten from, I think it was Trucker that I got that one from, but it was based off of the coronavirus. They're now suspecting that it might have been pangolins and not bats that had transferred the illness.
Okay, we're getting right into it. I've been thinking about this for a while now, and the timing of everything is all too perfect. And what I mean by that is not the common sort of conspiracy theories with what's going on. First of all, I think that a lot of this isn't. It's more scare than reality, and that it has I have a feeling it has a lot to do with what we were just talking about with Thailand, how China likes to push buttons of countries around them and try to intimidate them financially and, you know, mostly economically, but also just try to bully. And I think that them working on these types of hyper infectious diseases, that they wanted to do something like infect Hong Kong and be like, well, you know, we have the resources, we can help you. And then boom, they have a foothold into Hong Kong, and they could take it back 100% overnight. Because the government at that point would have been like, yeah, half of our population has this hyper infectious disease. It doesn't necessarily have to be corona, but like I said, you know, the laboratory is working that the virus, quote unquote, escaped from.
I would actually take it further than that, because I agree with you. I do think that's what they were doing, but I would take it even further than that, because one of the things that I know about China is that they quite
China
often have a population problem. Sometimes they have too many people.
Yeah.
So the idea that they could use this as like a way to population control without looking like they were doing anything, I could see
It's
them
not
doing
like they haven't already done worse in their history, and we're just talking the last 100 years. We're not talking, you know, ancient history.
I mean, it wasn't that long ago that they were ripping babies out of women's bodies because they didn't want them to have more than one child.
You don't want something that can be contained easy, and with a lot of more common, readily identifiable diseases or viruses, you want something that, for instance, China coronavirus is in a very common strain of that particular virus. I don't remember the scientific name. You want something that you've been researching, could easily come to the aid of that neighboring country. Like I said, the laboratory didn't only deal with one virus. Remember, they deal with a multitude of viruses and diseases. And again, China is the type of country, the type of government to research these things as weapons, not as cures. They evidently don't give a shit about their population at large. They care about their elite and their government officials. That's about it. Places like the West, we research these things. Yeah, there might be some people who are like, oh yeah, and then we can weaponize some of this. But for the most part, and why we have them, the primary mandate is to understand and combat these diseases and viruses, not to deploy them as weapons. I don't trust China for anything.
All I can say is I'm really glad that they are not amongst the list of countries that have smallpox, because that's Russia and that's the US. Because you know that they would use it. And that one's scary. Like, I mean, coronavirus is scary, but could you imagine bringing smallpox back to the world as it is right now? That shit would rip through everybody. Because we no longer have an immune system to it. Like, it's been out of the world for a really long time.
I have my vaccination.
For smallpox?
Yeah. What, is that so surprising?
A little bit, considering like only 2 places in the world has those.
We do a lot of immigration and business with Russia. It was common in the 80s.
Yeah.
I don't know how long or what the, how long
it might
a
have
vaccination.
Been more of the fact, like if you were traveling to and from, it might make more sense that you have had it. It's just most people that I know.
No, I just think it was because in that time of my life was a huge influx of mostly Russian, but Eastern European immigrants and refugees. Follow the Soviet Union and all that. Less than that, but we had a huge, like specifically in Toronto. So at a time when we had room to spare. A lot of these people from those communities came here, and so I think it was probably an easier task for the public school system to just vaccinate the kids as opposed to checking every last person and maybe somebody getting away from it. And then I don't know. I just know that was included at the time in my round of vaccinations when I was a child. It's like, huh, that's interesting. Because it's one of those things you learn and you're like, why?
Yeah, it's all I'm saying though is like when you really look at it, the amount of people who've had that vaccination versus people alive right now who haven't, and the amount of resources they would have to invest to make enough just to cover everybody that in that short of a period, you would decimate a population really quickly. Like my understanding of smallpox, I think it's around the similar range as the big ones. Like I don't know how long you carry it for, but I just remember reading stories of people going home not feeling well and then not waking up the next day, or maybe that's influenza. Like influenza's bad too. Just influenza's bad too. So like there's so many things that I don't want China to have their fingers into, because let's be real, they don't care about anybody but themselves.
Yeah. And like I said, not even their population at large. It's just their, selective elites. I mean, like you can say that about a lot of places, but at the end of the day, should the government of Canada, the government of the United States, if they started acting like China did, there'd be fucking riots in the streets. People would be armed people would be showing up at government buildings taking people hostage. Like you couldn't get away with that shit. Today, you might be able to tomorrow, depending on how they fucking deal with weapons and guns and stuff. That's
See,
what's so
and
scary about it.
that brings up other points. Like, I was really young for that period, but I know it was back in the 80s. But it was during the Cold War. Like, you would see like incidences of what was considered terrorism in a lot of the Eastern countries. Like, I'm thinking like during the Soviet Union. I can't remember exactly if it was like Czechoslovakia and I can't remember the other one. But like I remember seeing like European cities destroyed because people were trying to fight it. You know, fight their governments, being absolutely decimated by their own governments.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing images of those cities. I have to revisit what I was seeing. You know, it's one of those things where this is what communism does to people. But yeah, like I said, it's what makes right now so scary. You know, because even as a kid, I might not remember the history of it because it was just one of those things where I couldn't do anything about it other than hope that better people were okay. You know, innocent people who had nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
but
I was
when
never.
when you're an adult and you're seeing the signs of stuff that you remember seeing on TV back in the 80s, yeah, it's natural that I'm a little bit.
Yeah, when I was younger, I watched and absorbed a lot of current politics stuff and world events that were going on. Probably didn't have the biggest grasp
Yeah.
of the gravity of any of these given situations at the time. I did growing up, obviously. I had realized more the impacts of what I saw. But I was never the biggest history fan, like in school when we're learning American, Canadian, Western history, British history. Like, I just wasn't the biggest fan. I don't know.
You know, Monkey put it really well this morning. It's most people actually do enjoy history. It's just the way that we teach it is crap. Because if you go into a history class and you're talking about a guy and you're wanting to remember the date, but they don't tell you any stories about the guy in history that you're talking about. That makes it boring.
Wait, whose impeachment hoax, Mr. Trump? We're pretty much all in favor of the president these days.
I don't know if you know this, but most of the people who've been cheering for him are Canadian. If you look at, I dare you to go on Twitter, look at half of the people who are on Trump's train, look in their bio, and you'll see that they're Canadian. I'm Canadian, sir, and I would invite Trump into my home. I mean, he wouldn't like my home because I'm poor. Shit.
And just to derail just for a second, just putting it out there, obviously there's no obligation. I do have a new donation goal for till the end of the month to get replace the RAM in Elowen's computer so that she can play some games that we've been playing online. And I'm just putting it up there not to ask people to donate outside the regular, just that this month's donations will be going specifically to that cause. So thank you in advance to anyone who takes part in that. And second, oh my God, I hate watch Bill Maher, because I used to be a huge fan of his. Again, you brought up Monkey. We're of the same mind in that regard. Huge fan of his when he was doing Politically Incorrect because he was funny, he was well spoken, and he talked about facts and the day's events within the scope of reason. Even though I shouldn't say even though he's a liberal, but today he's one of the most illiberal political entertainers I can think of, and he still calls himself a liberal or what have you. And yesterday was one of the best shows I've ever seen in recent years, but also one of the worst. So his first guest, he has Steve Bannon on, which I love Steve Bannon, not especially for his politics, but for the type of person he is.
Isn't he? I'm just making sure that I'm remembering names properly, but he's the Breitbart CEO, right?
Yes, and he was Trump's political campaign manager for his first election campaign. Well, the majority of that's a tricky topic, Trump. We don't have an electoral college. How about we put it that way? We don't have an electoral college, and that really fucks up our elections. So that basically Montreal and Toronto dictate the federal stage, which is disgusting because Toronto is social justice warrior central for all of North America. You might think it's your one of your beloved states of California, but it's not. It's actually Toronto. A lot of these feminist and social justice warrior talking points come out of slacktivists in Toronto who spread these messages on Twitter and whatnot. So, but yeah, back to Bill Maher. So Bill will ask him a question, and a loaded question, to which Bannon will disarm and then give him an answer, and then Bill won't accept the answer. Or he'll change the topic because he doesn't like the answer. He doesn't like the facts that Bannon's bringing up. And it was such a... And this is so telling of his character these days. As Bill's getting up from the interview to go join the panel, he's like, well, I wish we had someone as, oh God, what was the word he used? Vicious or slimy, or, just like a passive aggressive try to gotcha insult, as he walks away. And I was like, you are such a scum fucking piece of shit. Ugh. And so his panel guess was, he had the lispy guy in charge of Vox, some black Obama apologist who was like, Obama did no wrong. I really wish Trump would adopt more of Obama's immigration policies. Oh, you mean the policies in which you're now lambasting Trump over for adopting, but not on the vast scale that Obama did? Those Obama policies? The Obama policies that Trump's not being as impactful through the numbers? Hasn't deported as many people as Obama did in his first term. So what policies would that be, Mr. Black Commentator Man? Oh, you're lying. Well, color me shocked. And then just some other, I think she was a political columnist or something. I really didn't know who the hell she was. Easy on the eyes, McGee, basically.
As an Albertan, Trump, my joy, I 100% agree with you. I would absolutely love it.
Well, they're not liberals, are they? The liberals are voting conservative, Republican, and, well, Tory and Republican. Because liberals are looking at the rest of the left going, y'all are fucking insane. I'm going to join the people over here that, at least will listen to facts and reason, and will maybe sit down at the table and discuss the issues with us and find out where we have common ground so we can maybe debate where we differ. I know that generally when people say liberals, like I rag on Monkey all the time in chat about, not liberals. We liberals understand you mean the leftists, because I'm the type of person, I will vote conservative if they align with my beliefs and what I believe is for the betterment of the country, province, what have you. I'm the one who looks at Trump and goes, well, he was a corporate Democrat for most of his life. He's now the leader of the Republican Party, but he still has his mostly core beliefs of liberalism. And yeah, cool. I get behind that. Yeah, Kyler, oh my God, Obama didn't do nothing wrong. But he's basically, the guy was basically saying, lying to continue the narrative that, orange man bad, orange man racist, orange man bigot, which is further from the truth, because again, look at the numbers. So either the guy is really that dumb and really that brainwashed from all this shit, which is a good possibility, yeah. Or they're just fucking full of shit and lying, straight up lying on national TV, which is also a possibility, or some combination of the two.
Well, here's the irony of it, right? Like, so I'm using Dave Rubin as an example, and you wouldn't know about this because it was on Twitter. I would have to double check the date on when he posted. I'm not sure if it was yesterday or this morning, but he just basically made a statement on how given how the Dems have been over the last 4 years, there's a really good chance that Trump's going to go from that 8% black vote to probably closer to 30%. And
Yep.
some people were saying it's probably closer to 40%. And, the Dems are just like, no, that's not true. That's not true, blah, blah, blah. I would be surprised if he got 3% of the vote. And I'm just like, do you know why you get to say that? Because any black man or woman or Hispanic or Asian person who comes out to you and tells them their honest opinion on how they feel about Trump and how you treat him and how they see you as how you treat him, you know what? You would basically tell them that they're crazy. They're crazy. They're either
You would try to shame,
you would try to shame
ostracize.
them.
Some
Start
people have
using
been trying to
racial
get
slurs.
fired.
You start using racial slurs. You start telling them about how they're
It's
uneducated.
almost as if, Jen, they are turning into the people they purport to hate.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. And I see that, and it's just like you wonder why more people are moving away from the movement. And you know what's really amazing? This is other stuff that I read online too. So now you've got other activists leaving for the same reason because they realize that they've been used as tokens. They've been used as tokens, and we've been telling them that for years. We're like, you realize they don't give a shit about anything that you're actually saying, right? They're just using you because you're a person of color.
Yeah.
I'll have a discussion with you, and maybe sometimes I'll debate you on stuff, and maybe sometimes you'll educate me, and maybe I'll point out things that you don't know. I like those kind of conversations because I feel like both people in a conversation should walk away learning something. Whether they still agree with it or not, like that's different, but at least learning something. With the Dems, you can't learn anything because if you don't talk their talking points, then you're an evil Nazi white supremacist bigot. More isms.
So two quick things with the Bill Maher thing. Trump, my joy, brings up his rating is now 49%. You know what they were complaining about? They were complaining or lauding the fact that, but Trump has never been 50%. Like, motherfucker, 49%? And you're gonna bitch that it's not 50%? When was the last president who had that much of it? Anyway, and Cutie Mc column writer, whatever the hell her name was, in the face of Blackie Mc commentator dude, I don't even remember their names, nor do I care because they're not that important to me. But he was, mentioning, Black America and they have to come to the voting polls because this is how we're going to defeat Donald Trump and blah, 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 blah. And she comes out with, well, actually, the numbers suggest right now that it's actually white women who are more, who make up more of the deciding factor in this country as a whole. And that, they happen to be basically on board with Trump. And that's when it turned into, okay, well, how do we get them away from Trump? And blah, blah, blah. Well, with better ideas, dumbass. But you don't have better ideas. You have worse ideas. And people are waking up to that fact. That's why his approval rating shot up to 49%. Nationally, within the Republican Party, he's sitting in the 90s constantly. Like, the Republican Party loves him. And moderates, again, people who would probably identify more as liberal or moderate, are flocking to that side in droves because they're, even the ones who were a little bit more on the fence, like your Tim Pool types, they even went, no, fuck this shit, I'm out. You people are literally insane at this fucking point, and they're looking to the higher up saying, you're letting these insane people run the asylum, so we are out. And they are killing their own party, and it's sad, but it's hilarious at the same time. It's sad because you need to have those strong parties to keep butting heads so that we make headway in politics. I'm not talking about partisan politics. I'm talking about actual policy making so that, Republicans put out, a way to combat high drug prices, to have a strong Democratic Party come back and say, well, we don't really agree with all your points. Here's our plan. Now, let's hash out a plan that's an amalgam of the two that works for everybody. You know, they call that mediation. And that really ends up benefiting more people on the whole, because yes, it'll benefit in some ways big corporations, people in high tax brackets, but it will also help low and the middle class, you know, because both parties obviously have certain interests. I'm not saying one has more interest on one group than the other, but you know, they might consider different factors. When you have two strong parties, these come to the forefront and are generally debated. When you have a strong party and a completely pathetic party like you do right now, that's all there is mudslinging and partisan politics. That's all we read on Twitter, on Facebook, on CNN, on CBC, NBC, all these, you know, and fuck it. Yes, Kyler, but I will treat them the same way as I will any other sort of group. The Dems of today did not belong to the KKK. You know, that's history. And I would even,
I don't know
I'm
about
even.
that one functional. Did you see what all those white Dem ladies were wearing? They
Yeah,
did look
I
an awful
know,
lot
I
like the
know.
KKK wives.
They did. But I will even go out on a limb, and this will be a hill I'll die on, in saying that, you know, let's take the Republicans and Democrats right now. It's not about left or right anymore. Look at the Liberal Party and the Conservative Party here, or Labour and Conservative in the UK. It's not about left or right anymore.
No.
It's all about interests. And like I've said before, parties dig their claws into an issue, make it a quote unquote left or right issue, Republican or Democrat issue, and then it becomes left or right. And I'm so sick of it. I'm like, you have good ideas and bad ideas, left and right. We've pretty much moved past that kind of politicking in most Western avenues. Like I said, historically, generally things were stronger on both sides. So these left-right issues we now have instituted, for the most part, in society in the Western world, that it's no longer really about left or right in the political parties.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like there's more of a, and unfortunately we don't really have a party for that, but we have more of a stronger party for centrists than we do either the left or the right. Because right now, I mean, I'm probably closer to the right than I am the left, obviously. But even then, I wouldn't really call myself a hardcore conservative, you know, because hardcore conservatives to me were the quacks who kept bringing up God in office all the time, and I was like, no, I don't want anything to do with that. Thank you.
Yeah, but I would also maintain that again, the parties change, and the colloquial religious right has sort of become less of a power, less of a huge influence. Yes, Trump is still going to pander to his evangelicals, or, you know, but he's the type of person that will still support, you know, abortion within reason, even though the religious right, the most, you know, extreme sort of religious right, will say no, not under any sort of circumstance. Again, I hate to bring that up, but it is just a topic that we can use as that sort of example. But I'm not a huge fan of using that example, because it's so much more nuanced than what you can use as sort of in quick, you know, little bits. Who's ready for some stories? I like my stories. Do you like stories, Jen?
Sure.
Gotta catch up with my Days of Our Lives. Don't you know?
Oh goodness.
If it will fucking... There we go. Sometimes Streamlabs likes to be a little bit of a dick, but that's okay. Sometimes. So, from GoDaddy. What the fuck? Big Think, which is, you know, one of those sort of puff piece sites, but they have some funny stories from every now and then. And they ask, is masturbation the new cold and flu medicine? Can an orgasm a day really keep the doctor away? Giggity, giggity, giggity. Well, I mean, there have been studies that it does help increase your immune system. I can tell you, as somebody who typically is, you know, a man, that I see it as toxic. Too much buildup makes men toxic. You know, it makes us a little bit more on edge. I can tell with women too. When you don't get some, when you don't have that release, people in general just get a little bit more stressed. You know, it balances our levels of cortisol. It gives us feel good chemicals such as dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. It helps us be more relaxed in our day-to-day lives, making it easier to achieve restful sleep. And it has been proven to help in maintaining our immune systems. And so what this article goes in is more into, you know, the scientific minutia of how it helps and what it does for you. And so, I mean, it's kind of a, you know, we hate using the words common sense knowledge because common sense isn't so common, but hopefully is taking more root because, yeah, in the last, 50 years, there has been a destigmatization in the West of masturbation for men and women. Mm-hmm. You know, it's an acceptable practice. We can point to a various number of health benefits. Just like most other things in life, yes, it can be addictive. And there are people who take it to bad places, you know, like unhealthy places. But on average, sure. Oh, as the world turns, Kyler. Oh, man, we can't be friends anymore. It's all about the days of our lives.
I just can't help watching this ad in the corner that you've got.
Oh,
this
the
fake
bull?
martial arts,
The martial arts.
no touch karate.
You know what? I'm tempted to touch on it because, yeah, as I was cueing the story, I was really interested.
Hi, James.
Fake martial arts, the psychology behind no-touch knockouts. What leads people to believe in chi attacks and no-touch knockouts? Movies. It's all movies. Yeah, screw you. Yeah. Why did I even click on that? Now I'm probably going to get fucking malware on my computer. Jesus Christ, Jen. What have you done?
It was just so funny. I was like, what? What is this shit in the corner?
James. Yes, if you're telling me to go fuck myself, you're worried about my health, Kyler. And it really makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. So warm and fuzzy that I'm just going to I'm going to whip it out and just start cranking it right then and there because I'm just going to lubricate it with tears of joy. Moving on. Danny DeVito attends Mr. Bungle reunion show, gives Mike Patton acting tips. So, as a music fan, and as any diehard music fan would attest, Mike Patton is a fucking music god. He is probably the greatest singer of our time with one of the greatest ranges I've ever heard. And Mr. Bungle had a special place in my heart because I grew up listening to it in the 90s. Mike Patton's still going strong today, doing a lot of work. Like, he writes a lot of music for a lot of pop stars and does a lot of music work. Danny DeVito is always a treasure and a treat on screen.
Well, you know
and
what?
it's really cool that it's
uh,
really cool that Mr. Bungle got back together because they were fucking great. With songs like "It Isn't Funny, My Ass Is on Fire." That's actually the title of the song, and the hook of the song, it's so fucking just amazing. Sorry, what are you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say, like, with Danny DeVito, he's one of the few Hollywood stars that I could appreciate for just not. Stop telling me how to think, Hollywood. Thank you, Danny DeVito, for not being one of those guys. You're great.
Yeah, for not
I appreciate
being
you for believing in whatever you want to believe, but thank you for not pushing it on me.
for not being one of those people that just last show I was like, shut the fuck up. Do your job. Shut the fuck up. If I want to hear about your political bullshit, what you believe in, I'll ask. I'll tune into your political podcast. I don't need you to proselytize to me on your political beliefs during an award ceremony or hell, even on Twitter or whatever. Cynic.
That's sad.
Again, huge Star Trek fan. So, Kevin Conway, who played the iconic role of Kales in TNG and DS9, passed away today. Kind of sad. We've been losing people from the TNG era Star Trek shows, quite a few in the last 2-3 years. You know, we lost Nog, Aaron Eisenberg, and a whole bunch of other people that kind of saddens me. I understand, you know, such is the cycle of life. Fairly young for somebody who relatively didn't really have, you know, bad brush-ins with, you know, the bad parts of being an actor, you know, drugs, alcohol, bad lifestyle kinds of things. So it was kind of, why did you just suspend? I unsuspended all the fucking tabs earlier. Which leads me to my next story of a Klingon sword used in 2 Colorado Springs heists. It's called a batleth, you fucking savages. Denver Post. So a man wielding a quote-unquote Star Trek Klingon type sword robbed 2 Colorado Springs convenience stores early this morning, police said. The first robbery happened in about in Colorado Springs, police said in an incident report. The second robbery, blah, blah, blah. Witnesses told police that a man wearing a black mask, black jacket, and blue jeans entered the stores carrying a sword. The armed robber took an undisclosed amount of cash and fled on foot from both stores, police said. Officers searched the area but didn't find the robber or the weapon, which was described as a batleth. Thank you, Denver Post. Thank you for getting it right, Mr. Kieran Nicholson. Been a writer since 1986. You couldn't even call it a batleth. You're not wrong, Kyler. He is a... Danny, I know you're not watching this, but just on the off chance you are, I love you, man. No homo. Actually, maybe some homo. I love you, man, but you're a less than you're a little bit on the ugly side.
You know what? But I'm gonna throw him a bone. I'm gonna throw him a bone, and I'm just gonna point out that he is proof that ugly men can get women, because sometimes just being funny is enough.
Yeah. I mean, but Kyler's not wrong that he'd probably be drowning in the poon and the rolls if he was, you know, a Brad Pitt looking guy, because that would give him everything.
Oh yeah, he'd be funny and good looking.
Funny, acting ability, range, and he'd be, you know, ridiculously good looking. Okay, this kind of irks me. I somewhat understand, and obviously I am of the mind that, yes, it is a law, even though it's a dumb law, but famous water skiing squirrel banned from Toronto. I've seen this guy perform. I think, well, actually, it's a girl. It's cute. She looks like she's having the time of her fucking life doing this. Like, she's calm. She's cool. She's collected on this little rig that they have. I'll play the video in a minute. Actually, no, I'll play the video first because it's cute, adorable as fuck. See, she's just like fucking looking around. She's like, yeah, this is so cool. They got the little remote control boat and the tiny little water ski. She's splashing in the water as this shit is going on. They've got a little life preserver on her. She knows how to swim. It's fucking adorable. And then she jumps on the boat because she's had enough of the water, but she wants to get dry. But, you know, like, no harm, no foul, right? But here in Toronto and in a lot of places in Canada, there's a bit of a problem. Twiggy, the water skiing squirrel, is beloved in Toronto for her appearances at the International Boat Show. Love going to that. Including the most recent show, which saw her skiing to raise awareness about water safety at the Enercare Center last month. Again, her handler uses the spectacle to also raise awareness of smaller things, like water safety. I believe 2 years ago it was when I saw her last. I think it was breast cancer, so there was a little pink ribbon on her life jacket, or she was wearing a pink life jacket. Yeah, not necessarily fundraising, but just raising awareness. Which I think is, good on them, doing a little good in their
On that note, guys,
business.
I know the goal is to donate to Functional and Elwyn so that we can get her online so we can play games together. Because when you do that, I'm probably going to kidnap her from you, right?
Yeah.
But God, I went on too long with that. Oh God, never mind.
I'm so confused.
Oh yeah, breast cancer. On that note, if you can also donate to Moonshock's GoFundMe, because he actually has breast cancer and we love him and we don't want him to die.
Had. He's just busy, with the recovery process, and that's still very costly. And being an American.
And someday I will make him a proper pirate patch for his missing nipple.
Dear
it'll
Lord.
Look glorious and perfect, and it'll be covered in like Canadian flags, and it'll be scented like maple syrup.
So if you happen to catch the glimpse of Twiggy's most recent Toronto performance, count yourself lucky, because it's likely to be her last. A provision in the city's animal protection bylaws prohibits keeping an eastern gray squirrel in captivity, and Toronto's chief communications officer Brad Bradford reiterated this rule in a tweet earlier today. Now, see, the problem with that is that Twiggy has been domesticated. You can't re-release this animal into the wild. It will die. That is a death sentence. Not only the fact that is it a death sentence, but a domesticated squirrel like this has an exponentially longer life expectancy because they are safe.
And the worst thing is even if they did take the squirrel from him and say maybe they took it to like a zoo or something,
it's still in
there's
captivity.
A really good chance that the squirrel's gonna die because you've taken him away from
his family.
Her
family.
Yes.
Quote, "No, Toronto, you cannot have an elephant as a pet. Not the same thing. Nor a bear. Not the same thing. Flamingo.
You can't.
Hyena. Not the same thing. Or even an eastern gray squirrel, which is not the same thing as everything you just listed, Mr. Brad Ross, you dumb fuck." He wrote along with a full list of animals that are prohibited in the city of Toronto. Now, yes, let's break that down a little bit, because yes, not having an elephant as a pet in a major metropolitan area is a cause for concern. A, there's not enough room. B, it could be a safety hazard. Same thing with a bear or a hyena or other animals like panthers, jungle cats.
Not to mention, how much would it cost to coat that poor elephant? Because you're not going to have him in your house.
But yeah, so yes, like I said at the outset, having to abide by the current laws on the books is one thing. Whether or not you agree with them is another. And yes, I don't agree with the laws. Sure, these people are not acting within the scope of the law. Let's act to change that, maybe, and maybe have things that aren't
exceptions. I think what they need are exceptions. So, like, the exception of the rule is, okay, I stumbled upon a squirrel. It's a baby squirrel. It's been abandoned. Maybe it fell out of its nest. You don't know the situation, but you've taken it in. You maybe called animal control for assistance, and the parents are nowhere in sight. So, like, there's two things they can do. They can try to reintroduce the squirrel later, or it can become a pet. Because a lot of people do that. Like, they'll pick up something that has been abandoned and they just raise it with the intentions of releasing it. But here's the thing: we fall in love with the things we rescue, and the things we rescue fall in love with us.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes they end up becoming a pet. Now, I understand they don't want people going out and just like taking baby squirrels and making pets out of them. I would support that.
Yeah, that's probably another reason why laws like these exist. But, to have it such a hard, stringent law without these exceptions is asinine. Like, there should be certain provisions under these laws that allow animals that were rescued and can no longer be a part of the wild. Maybe, I don't know how you would get around that, is the thing.
Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong, it's one of those things that you probably have to put a lot of thought into, and you would definitely want to consult the professionals on it. Like, that's the thing, you should be consulting the professionals on it. But even the professionals know that there are cases where they have wild animals that at the best they can keep them in a safe, like a sanctuary, you know, where they're at least safe. But they can't be re-released. They're too used to humans. They will go up to random people, you know, because they think they can trust you. That's not good for animals.
Well, for a lot of them, yeah, because if they get, you know, with things like certain animals, if they become accustomed to humans, it becomes dangerous, because then they don't have that self-preservation, or they will, like with bears, they don't fear humans, so they will then start seeing them as a source of food, because they can now hunt humans. They're not scared of humans. Typically, bears are quite standoffish with humans. You know, they don't really want to fuck with us.
Yeah, at the best, you might be in one of those little towns where, you know, maybe the garbages weren't locked properly. Like, that's always been kind of a thing that, you know, sometimes it happens.
Yeah.
You know.
First, hi, straight Sith male. Nice to see you here. I do agree with you. Yeah, most house cats can live just fine in the wild. They still maintain a certain level of, you know, their instincts. However, a lot of them can't. That being said, all of them have a reduced level of length of life in the wild. But yeah, most of them do become a lot more dependent on their home life. Like my cat right now is a home cat. She hasn't been accustomed to going inside, outside. She's not an indoor, outdoor cat. So, you know, outdoor cats that have a home, sure, they obviously can exist in the quote-unquote wild a lot better than most. Ones that are indoor outdoor cats, sure, have a better chance. My cat, not a fucking chance. She would be dead tomorrow. Even though, you know, she runs out of the hallway of my building, and then she will fight tooth and nail to get out that door, and then, you know, she'll stand there looking at Elwyn all scared and not knowing where to go. Like, and then Elwyn will have to pick her up and bring her in the apartment. She goes, home. So, you know, I agree and disagree. Obviously, there's exceptions to all the rules. So Twiggy's not really just causing a stink here, like I said before. Vancouver also has been, the Vancouver Sun reported that she's performing illegally there too. There's a picture of her and her owner. So it's a bit of a different law over in Vancouver, in that, quote, business prohibition bylaw number 5156, enacted by council in 78, explicitly prohibits any business from using rodentia and several other exotic animals, including anteaters. I don't know why you'd bring up anteaters especially, and all other insectivores, but African pygmy hedgehogs. I wonder why there's a exception for African pygmy hedgehogs in a competition, exhibition, performance, event, or other situation, end quote, the article states. This is kind of a weird, you know, they seem to be very specific in certain areas and very vague in others. I'd love to hear the reasoning behind it. You probably won't ever hear it, but it'd be an interesting little tidbit to learn about. And by continuing to perform despite this fact, both Twiggy Inc. and the Vancouver International Boat Show are at risk of being fined between $500 and $10,000 for each individual performance. Stated earlier, the cost of the violation here in Toronto is only $240. But of course, because it's a ownership law here in Toronto, they would also risk the confiscation of Twiggy, which I think would be a shame. African pygmy hedgehogs are cute, but Oh no, Kyler, fucking farm cats are boss. They can do shit their own damn selves, and there's nothing you are going to do about it. Whoo. Sorry, you were gonna say something about Twiggy before I finished the article. Can't remember.
No, it was mostly just one of the things that you'd said before about like a lot of wild animals doing better in, when they've been domesticated. And it's one of those things that came up not that long ago. But it was with people wanting to domesticate foxes.
Mm-hmm.
Because in all honesty, it's not really that far from a stretch to do, in terms of animals. Like I know there's still a wild animal, and yes, you should still treat them like a wild animal, but there's such an odd mix of like cat and dog that I completely understand why people like went that route. Most of the people that I see who have pet foxes are usually from the US, because like I know like state to state some of the laws are different. But every fox that I ever saw raised by somebody at home, like most of them were rescues. I mean, there are places there now where you can buy them as exotic pets, but they always end up living for like 8 to 10 years. Whereas in the wild, they're lucky if they can live up to 4. It's one of those things. Like every time, it goes back to things like the otters in Japan. I have mixed feelings about it. Like if it's done right, with the animals' welfare taken into account the entire time,
yeah,
I don't have a problem with it.
Because there was a certain point in human history where we had to domesticate things like dogs and cats and hamsters and what have you.
Do you know why most people have a ferret? Because ferrets were used to get rid of groundhogs.
Yeah. And then we decided, hey, we can start domesticating these animals. And it is a bit of a double-edged sword because, yes, like I said, domestication, not only do we have complete dominion over the planet and these animals, but domestication uplifts them to a certain level that we have obtained to defeat or at least combat our natural life expectancies and health and, elevate us, make us healthier. Us and the animals that we're domesticating make us healthier, make us live longer, and also helps us understand them. Helps us connect with these animals on a large scale that people go, well, yeah, maybe these aren't just dumb animals, that we do have to
I was going to just say
share
the same thing.
the planet with them and be more empathetic to them.
I was going to say the same thing. Like, if the only animals we ever domesticated were the ones that we eat, do you think people would have even a remote amount of compassion that we do have now for animals?
Well, like Kyler says, domestication hasn't turned out that badly. In the sense of survival for the species of cattle, pigs, sheep, and goats. Cattle is a species that we basically created through selective breeding. The auroch died out because it was a dumb animal that, died out. And it is preserved through farm cattle. Like their genetic lineage is now preserved because we've domesticated and turned them into the farm animal, the livestock. That's the word I'm looking for. We've turned them into livestock. And no, not every single cow on Earth is livestock, obviously. Some people have them as pets, as weird as that is. Some people have them just to live out their lives and let them, continue on once they've fulfilled their roles as a dairy cow or a bull or what have you. A lot of the breeding stock bulls, they don't just get killed or whatnot. A lot of them go to retirement farms to, live out their days and die happy and peaceful.
It's one of those things.
And straight Sith male, would you? Yeah. So what you're saying is your cat is a pussy? No. That's better. Okay. Enough with the crickets. Sorry, Jen. What were you gonna say?
Oh no, you're fine. I kind of lost it anyway.
Just trying to
like I keep staring at these eggs and they're horrifying me for some reason.
Chickens can go fuck I fucking hate chickens. Oh my god, they're such vicious little... They think they're fucking velociraptors. No, you're fucking dinner, okay? Know your fucking role.
Now you've brought up a different topic. So this is the thing. The first year that I moved in with my brother, there was this program that we were both watching about this scientist in California. I highly doubt he's still there anymore, but he was really into the research of birds being connected to dinosaurs because that's still kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So he wanted to work on DNA practices with chickens so that he could breed in longer tails and teeth back into the beaks.
No!
Right?
No!
Right? I was like, this is like a B movie in the making. I could see why he's in California.
I mean,
now.
it's... that at least brings us to our next story. I'm just going to move past the demon chickens, okay? Scientists... What the hell is wrong with you, webpage? Scientists grow trees from 2,000-year-old seeds found in Dead Sea Scroll caves. These are trees that no longer exist, like specific genus that no longer... Yeah, that these seeds can still be planted. So these are seeds from what are considered like colloquially known as Judean date trees, because these are the date trees that are spoken about in the Old Testament, in the Dead Sea Scrolls, were a staple of the people of the Middle Eastern region, and they were famed for their long shelf life, and they were grown until the 19th century. But again, through our innovation, we've, crossbred them and altered them so that they are basically a different species, the modern date tree. And it's really cool. Also, these date palms, again, through the innovation of the people that now live in that region of the desert, turning it into viable arid farmland, or what was once arid into viable farmland, and started planting these trees. So they named several of them, Adam, Hannah, Uriel, Boaz, Jonah, and Judith. And they're going to study their growth and learn from them.
And maybe if they get lucky, they could plant more, because, I mean...
It'd be kind of cool. Here's some pictures of the little seedlings.
But it's more just amazing that they survive. Like that really makes you think. Like if you have old seeds, like try it. Like
seeds even dried out can, in a majority of cases, still be planted and be viable plants. I just think it's really like what types of things we're going to be able to learn from
old plants.
Flora that existed 2,000 years ago that are no longer around.
Makes you that really excites me, because that makes me think of places like Egypt where, like, yes, you find bodies, but quite often they find the goods that were planted with the bodies, and I don't doubt that they have seeds in those. It's one of those things where, like, they were going through the list of plants that, like, Egypt used to use for narcotics, because they were finding traces of cocaine and tobacco, which they shouldn't have. But they were listing like 3 different plants that they used to have back that was theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things, like, I'm not saying plant them so people can go smoke them. It's just more of like, I want to see what these plants used to look like, because you only ever know them from the pictures in the hieroglyphs.
Yeah.
That's the kind of science that, like, makes my
we
brain.
didn't have photography
record, I've been holding on to this line since I saw it, but Cynic says you want microraptors, because that's how you get microraptors. And I know that you've been playing Ark, so don't go to California, guys. Microraptors everywhere.
Excuse me. Whew.
I would do it. I would totally raise and train an army of microraptors and then stick them on Portland. No reason, just want to. Anyway, I'm seeing a big giant cockroach.
Yeah, weed seeds from Egypt from 2,000 years ago. Holy shit, that would be incredible. And yeah, I mean, they to say they stored them properly, straight Sith mail. Yes, because they were in the caves of the Dead Sea Scrolls. We know that they were preserved fairly well because they were sealed tombs, right? And these seeds were generally given as offerings to their deities and whatnot. So they were stored in pottery, in urns and stuff. So yeah, they're probably very well preserved. But yeah, the cockroach. Brokenhearted? Zoos will let you name a cockroach after your ex and watch it get eaten. I can do that in my kitchen, thank you very much. If you've been dumped by the person you thought you'd spend Valentine's Day with, the San Antonio Zoo is a way to soothe your broken heart. Cry Me a Cockroach is the name of the San Antonio Zoo's skin-tingling event, which offers the recently single and the sufferers of unrequited love a way to celebrate the day as well. For $5 US, anyone can purchase and name a cockroach, which will then be fed to one of the zoo's animals as a snack, turning wasted love into a savory treat. Eat the bugs, bigot! Birds and reptiles will be offered the cockroaches, the zoo said in a press release. If you want to spend a little more money and don't get sentimental over cute, fluffy rodents, you can pay up to $25 US to name a rat, which will become food for a reptile. This is kind of morbid.
Can I just say, and this is a confession on my part, but not once in my life have I ever spent Valentine's Day with like a significant other in that sense of the word. Women, ladies who are, or gentlemen, you know, there's the odd gentleman who gets butthurt over it too, but it's mostly ladies. You need to get over it. It's just a day. You could buy your own chocolate. I actually appreciate it because half the time it was like 50% off the next day, so it was like
exactly.
cheap chocolate.
I call it cheap chocolate day. I don't celebrate much of anything. I
can appreciate the holiday for what
I
it is,
treat
but...
my partner the same I would every day, and that is with respect and love and kindness and anything else I can think of. I don't need a day to do that.
You really need an excuse to buy a box of chocolates. If you want to buy a box of chocolates, just buy a box of chocolates.
Buy your woman some flowers, dudes. They love that shit. They eat that shit up. It's a symbolic gesture, you know, backing up the words. And yeah, maybe it's not for all women, but you know, just a symbolic token gesture of just reminding them that you care. Sure.
I used to cheat with that with my mom because she really liked, you know how you can get like herb plants, you know, like rosemary or thyme or things like that. I used to cheat with that. Like I would just get her like a $10 little tree, and she was like, "I'm gonna use this right now." Those are great. Although it's also kind of a way of telling her to get into the kitchen, which is not my intentions. It's just I know she likes that kind of thing. Hi, Scubby!
Okay. Okay, we're gonna start digging into the meat. I read this article, and even now, just knowing that I have to bring it up, it's a little trying. What's it like to be black in Canada? Under policing, it's hell, says Desmond Cole. Shut up. Cole's new book explores violent incidents involving police and members of the black community, but it fails to show any sort of, this is me adding this to this, but it fails to show any sort of patterns or systematic racism. He just cites incidents where black people had crime, what are the words I'm looking for? Violent consequences when dealt with police, mostly for good reason, and we'll get into that into the story. Cole's new book explores. Oh, I already said that. So this is the scumfuck here, Mr. Desmond Cole, who is surprise, guys. Desmond Cole is an activist and journalist. Anybody surprised? One in chat if you're surprised. I bet you nobody's surprised. You fucking... Journalist and activist Desmond Cole says the conversation about race in Canada needs to move away from whether racism exists and focus on the reality of living under it, particularly through the lens of law enforcement. Yeah, let's go away from the argument and the debate and the conversation of whether racism exists that you're losing, and let's focus on jumping to the 5 steps ahead on, well, what's it like living under it? It reminds me of the now infamous question posed to Bernie Sanders about Warren's bullshit made up lie of, why do you say that women can't be president, Mr. Bernie? I didn't say that. Oh, Miss Warren, how did you feel when you heard that? I said I didn't say. Shut up, Bernie. Yeah, shut up, Bernie, but for different reasons. Quote, the question is, what is it like to live as a black person, said Cole, the author of The Skin We're In, A Year of Black Resistance and Power, released this month. The only question at this point I would propose to Mr. Cole is, how are you treated any differently than anybody else under the eyes of the law? Adjusting for, incidences of actual abuse of power within, policing, individuals who might actually be racist, abusing their power. Again, doesn't show any sort of evidence that this is more than just fringe events. In fact, in Toronto specifically, I can point to a handful of cases. We covered one, I believe it was last week, of the police officer that was acquitted but had to step down from policing, who shot and killed a white kid who was freaking out on drugs and alcohol on a streetcar with a knife. Yeah. That's a little bit. He was acquitted of, murder or what was it, like intentional, not intentional, but unavoidable manslaughter or something like that. He was acquitted of criminal charges, but was forced to leave the police force because of his abuse of his position, right? So it's a complicated individual issue. But again, like there's cases of this that happen all the time that aren't indicative of any sort of racist policing, because the same shit happens to anybody regardless of their fucking race here in Canada. Again, we're talking Canada. Cole's book explores several whole cases of violence involving police and members of the black community and their aftermath. And we're going to get into one of the cases he talks about, the case of Devontae Miller. Now, this is an interesting case. Why functional? Why do you think this is an interesting case? Well, I'm glad you asked that, chat. He testified last fall that he was beaten by an off-duty police officer, Michael Thoreau, and his brother Christian in 2016 in Whitby, Ontario. Wow, that's really interesting, functional. Why did they do that? Well, don't you fret, guys. The incident left Miller with numerous injuries, including the loss of an eye. Oh, look at this poor little bleep here. The brothers have pleaded not guilty to aggravated assault and obstruction of justice, and say they were the ones attacked after catching Miller stealing items from their truck. Huh. That adds a little bit of intrigue to this case. On the night of the incident, Miller was handcuffed and arrested. The charges against him were later dropped. Oh, a verdict in the case is expected in April. I wonder why the charges against Miller were dropped. That's really interesting. Cole argued that incidents like this show that the police force cannot be reformed. It has to be dismantled. Yeah, spoken like somebody who hasn't had his apartment attempted to be broken into by someone drilling his locks, who lives in a bubble of comfort and safety on his ivory tower, being, a journalist and all, in the modern year, that really doesn't have to deal with any hardship whatsoever. Certainly not the racist hardship that he says is around every corner. Nor the hardship that a lot of people, regardless of their race, deals when they're brought up in less than ideal economic circumstances, which is the real conversation that most people agree that can be had. A CBC analyst for 2018 found that 18 whole black men and one black boy were among the 52 people killed in encounters with Toronto police officers between 2000 and 2017. That's more than a total. That is more than a third of the total figure. One of those 52 cases, 7 Toronto police officers have faced charges after being involved in the death of a civilian. Only one was found guilty. So again, we're not seeing any sort of epidemic or pattern here, other than if we want to bring up the statistics that certain demographics are more prone to violent incidences, more likely to be arrested for those and indicted for those specific incidences. Not going to name who, but I don't know. Statistics. That's. Oh, what are those things called, Jen? Statistics. What? They're. Hey, Cooler, what's going on, buddy? Come on, Jen, you got to help me out here. Especially since it's getting ridiculously hot in my apartment. I have to take off my hoodie. Oh, what's that word? Statistics and when reality is brought up in a conversation and people don't like them, what are they called? We have a name for that.
Hi, Cooler.
Jen, no help.
I kind of.
No help at all.
Snuck away to get a coffee, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, thanks for letting me know.
I wasn't going to interrupt you to be like, I'm going to go get coffee.
Hate facts. Statistics, also known as hate facts. Oh, we don't like talking about those, do we, Desmond? To get justice for one cop who takes a life in this country is almost impossible, Cole said. Yeah, and, of course, you don't want to talk about more of those pesky hate facts that, an overwhelming majority of those cops who are involved in fatal shootings suffer from conditions like PTSD, who generally don't go back into the same, or I wouldn't say generally, it is a minority, but it is a large minority who don't go back into the same fields of policing because they're irrevocably shaken from taking a life in the line of duty. This small minority, they change from being a beat cop or one of those first responder cops that to desk work or less confrontational police work because they're so damaged by taking a life. There's no consideration of that, is there, Mr. Cole? You piece of shit. He argued that when you're living with that kind of a condition where the society will fight so hard to justify killing you, end quote, it affects both the opportunities for black people and the chance to have basic needs met. Again, one of my first comments, please point to the opportunities and the chances and the social programs that you have, or sorry, that white people have, or Asian people, or Native people that, well, no, I shouldn't use Native because that's actually a special case here in Canada. That you don't have, Desmond. Can you point to one of them? No, probably not. In fact, there are several programs that I know of that are specifically of Afro-Caribbean leanings here in Toronto that myself, as a presenting white person, couldn't enjoy. That are publicly funded programs that, even not too long ago, I want to say maybe about 14 years ago, black supremacist communities here in Toronto were pushing for the Toronto District School Board to fund segregated schools for black children only and black teachers only. Kind of sounds like, oh, Jen, what's that? Oh, I'm so scatterbrained today. There's a word for that where you treat a certain group of people based on their race differently than everybody else.
Might be one of those isms.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. Racism. That might be racism, Desmond. Any comments on your end from that? I know he's not listening, but Jesus Christ, these people are so stupid. Yeah. Let's veto. Like, this guy looks like a total. He looks like he dips into the soy a little too much. What a piece of absolute shit. Discrimination. It's blatant racism. Well, as much as I love George St. Pierre because he's an amazing athlete, that's not the video I wanted to show. This is the video I wanted to show. No, this is an ad. I don't want your stupid ads about stupid cows, okay? Your baseball glove, get in the back of a truck. No, it's probably an ad for Ontario Farms. But this, Dairy Farmers of Canada, yeah, enjoy your welfare, you sons of bitches. Anyway, not to be bitter or anything. So there was an interesting incident that happened. There's no context. It's just a short minute video of an incident that happened here in Toronto. Hey, guess what, people? Two of the cops were white. One of the cops was black. The gentleman in question, the civilian in this case, was a white man, or as best I can tell, a white man from this still of the initial shot. I don't want to presume he could identify as black, but Mr. Cole, do you have any comments on this? Again, I know he's not listening. I'm not crazy, but it's interesting. So I'm gonna play this. It's interesting. With the ominous music from CTV News. Fucking cops spraying him with foam and tackling the motherfucker in the seat. Third cop. Fourth cop. And that's the extent of the video. It's a 12-second clip, but you can... What I think when I see this is, what kind of activity outside of being a threat to people warrants this kind of response from police? Now, in the article I read, this all started off as a fair check and a violation. Or, no, not even a violation. I don't think that they confirmed that, but it was a fair inspection.
What do you expect from a rent-a-cop?
Well, actually, we've given these guys the full authority of the Toronto Police Department, which, first of all, is the biggest mistake.
Yes. Never give a rent-a-cop full power, okay?
Over $3.25, you are now going to escalate this to a point of violence. I think that that's ridiculous. Now, to play the other side and my other thoughts in this, okay, what was this guy doing to warrant this kind of a response? Did he then just become belligerent vocally to the cop? Which kind of, okay, doesn't warrant being beaten up. Or did he, take off a shoe and throw it at the cop? Did he start swinging at the cop? We don't know. We don't have the video in front of us. We can only surmise. The reason why I wanted to bring this up on the show is to, bring it to you and the chat's attention. Like, taking these factors off the table, is this the kind of response you want from basically police over $3.25? Is having this level of instigation from police warranted? And it's right on the tails of the article that really puts out a lot of the supposition there, and the guy even wrote a book about it without considering any of the facts. Here, we're trying to surmise the facts based on what we can see, and we actually have to discount a lot of the context, but just talk about the what ifs of the situation and the responses. Like, again, you can hear from what I've said so far, I don't agree with how they treat most of this, because a lot of these fare checks, they slow down the system. They put a lot of, they instigate a lot of people. This person from the article I read didn't seem too well mentally. Seemed like they were going through a lot of stuff, because he started yelling and being belligerent. That's one of the pieces of context that we know. Again, we don't know if he was violent or if it was, or what he said specifically. And yeah, what if it is somebody who is mentally, let's say, a little bit on the more unstable side? Whether or not it's some sort of condition, or they're just having a shitty day. His girlfriend broke up with him. He lost his job. He got into a car accident. That's why he's on the streetcar. You don't know these things. Hey, Shio. You don't know these things. And the police don't consider these things. This is, again, relating back to the previous article. What I said was, you know, maybe it's not a race issue. Maybe it's just a little bit of how do we do better in modern policing classes, teaching them how to be better police, when certain political groups have kind of dismantled the insane asylums and the what we would colloquially call previously the crazies are now wandering the street and a part of society. How do police better interact with these people? Because this very well could have devolved into another shooting incident. Nobody wants this. But I definitely see a problem with modern police forces being a little too aggressive in how they police. Again, we've stripped them of tools of hands-off policing, like profiling. No, it's not racial profiling, it's profiling, because they will look at two people, a black man, a black teen, and a white teen, and they will surmise who is a bigger threat, more of how they present themselves. Because you know what? If that black teen is wearing, you know, a button-down collared shirt and jeans, and is just going about his business with a backpack on, not really going to see him as much of a threat. But, you know, they look at the white kid who's got his pants down around his fucking ankles, walking around, talking like this, you know, hey, what's up, bro? What's your fucking, yo, you fucking watch your fucking self. You know, they're going to look at that person as, yeah, maybe they are a little bit higher on the threat scale, because they're presenting as somebody who wants to be in that lifestyle of gangbanging, of, you know, just a not good, a counterintuitive subculture of society. That isn't to say people can't enjoy and like, you know, the raps and the dirty musics. I don't care, kids. Listen to whatever the fuck you want. But if you're gonna act like an asshole in society and put on this front that you're hard or whatever, then yeah, maybe you should be profiled. Shio, no we talked about Star Trek earlier. I was trying not to talk about the latest episode of Picard, but we probably will eventually. Jen.
Yeah, I heard the Picard is what, like, it sounded like they were trying to cancel it already.
Hmm.
Because
I wouldn't say
they
cancel it. You know, there are redeeming qualities of the show. I don't want to get into it just yet,
mm, yeah,
though,
we can.
because we got some pipeline news. I'm not going to get too much into the individual stories.
There's actually quite a bit of stuff going on with this. But you start from your end because I've got one too.
Okay, great, great, great. It's just a couple of stories that sort of all just tie together with what I really want to comment on. So, yes, protesters are blocking the rail line near DuPont and Dufferin in support of Coastal GasLink pipeline opponents in BC. There's that one. Oops. Oh, shit, This is why I hate Chrome, because it decided that when I unfroze the tabs, it liked to group them based on who they're from. So federal Liberals prepare Alberta aid package in case Teck oil sands mine is rejected. So again, through stupid protesting that's unwarranted, unscientifically based, another big project in Alberta might be put on hold because of red tape in the courts. And now the federal government is going to have to subsidize this company from going belly up because of these protesters. It's fucking retarded. And there was, okay, here. New gas pipeline proposal has waterfront residents feeling the burn. This is Queen's Quay, which is the newly developed and gentrified part of Toronto, right down on the waterfront. That, guess what, protesters? We already have kilometers and kilometers and kilometers of pipelines, electrical, hydro, water, gas, sewage, all running under there. It's how the fucking world works in cities. You fucking retards. Which leads me to the pinnacle story of two CP crude oil train crashes 2 months apart in same Saskatoon area, Saskatchewan area. Coincidence or deeper problem? It is a deeper problem. That's why we're trying to build pipelines that are safer. You fucking morons. You are these people. They just
It's really frustrating. Like, I've been following a lot of the Rebel for that, because Kian's been back and forth at the protesters between Alberta and Saskatchewan. They've basically blocked off the co-op gassery. You can't. They're not letting anyone in or out except for the trucks with the oil. And despite the fact that our Edmonton has declared that they want the blockade removed, the police have done nothing. Co-op has asked that it be removed. The police have done nothing. The RCMP are reinforcing these guys. The RCMP,
under federal orders,
are assisting these guys.
And also take into consideration that the population at large supports these things. One way or the other, they support them, whether through them actually saying, yeah, why not let them do business as long as they're trying to be, as safe and whatever as they can, to the people who are like, well, I don't care, who are abstaining from basically being a part of the issue. It's this tiny, tiny, tiny little minority of people and activists who are influencing the federal government. Yeah, no, not just people, the country at large.
Oh, yeah, I know that too. I'm just saying, with what they're doing right now, all that they're really doing is they're affecting the general public, because they're showing them exactly how much damage what they're doing is doing to their lives.
And Pincalo, it's not even just... it's not all natives. You're right. It's 3 fucking tribes and just small representation from these tribes and a whole lot of fucking self-flagellating white people.
It's like I was telling Functional the other day, and I'm not bringing up the Wexit movement for that reason. It's just most of the guys that are in that group are natives.
Yeah.
Because they're sick of being screwed over by the system using those 3 tribes to do it.
They
They are
look at
sick.
some of their brethren and they say, well, they had an industry. They took up, casinos and farming, and they're doing really well.
Yes.
Why can't we get a piece of the capitalist pie when we have an opportunity to be a part of these pipelines that
And
will
that's what-
help our communities that are suffering because we're
that's-
dirt fucking poor? We don't have big industries.
And this is the thing, they're well aware of what's going on, because it's like you said last time, that like you would rather teach people how to fish than feed them a fish because it's better for them in the long run. The natives here have been asking that for years, and we've been trying our best to help them with it. And every time we do, this stuff happens, and it loses a lot of trust. It loses a lot of faith. It loses, you know, I feel very bad for them. Like I said, like our flood from 2008, that should be fixed by now. I mean, I can understand some people still struggling from it because that's a huge thing to lose. It's your home and your life. But they should be back on their feet by now. They should have been back on their feet within the first 2 years, at least, able to start over again.
Yeah. Like Kyler says, there are some Pawnee families in my area. They have completely assimilated into society at large.
They're
Intermarried
great
and
people.
such like. Yeah. Nobody's complaining about their genes or whatever.
They're
They-
great
but
people.
I am of the mind that we should have done this a long time ago, given the tribes a 20-year plan and said, okay, from this date, 20 years from this date, you are to be considered full Canadian citizens. Get your affairs in order. You will have the protections, and we will continue giving our reparations payments and whatnot for 20 more years. But in that time, you guys have to start picking yourselves up by the bootstraps. Oh shit! I'm sorry, AOC. Did I just fucking say a racist statement that is factually incorrect? That you can't pick yourself up by your bootstraps or your shoelaces? Fuck it.
It's not. It's not just that. It's
But
how
basically,
the,
give them the 20 years to fully
Oh, yeah.
integrate into Canadian or American society, and say after this 20-year period, you're not going to have any special provisions. The land you are on is your land, and yes, we'll forego federal taxation for the remainder of the people who are alive, whatever. You can still keep your lands or whatever, but you actually have to acclimate to and integrate into Canadian society. And yes, eventually you are going to have to start paying taxes and income taxes and sales taxes.
The other thing with that too is how that money is redistributed, because not every tribe is the same, and that's actually what rages me, is because you'll see some tribes where the chief and his family is doing very well because they all have really nice houses, they all have really nice cars, and then the rest of their community is in shitholes.
Yeah.
I realize that it's a lot.
And
for
you
me to
notice
say.
which ones are generally the shitholes? The ones that are usually they don't have much in the way of natural resources to or businesses to sort of uplift them. But more important than that, it's the ones who get the most gibs, the ones who get the most welfare. Like you said, what I said, we've been giving them fish for so long they've become dependent. That's not
and
good.
know it. They know it. A lot of them know it.
Especially the younger people.
I can feel their
They don't,
betrayal.
and again, when I say acclimate and integrate better into society, I'm not talking about losing your language or losing your cultural identity. No, not at all. Look at how communities in the great melting pots of Canada and the U.S. have thrived without losing their cultural backgrounds and practices. The Chinese, the Vietnamese, the Thai, the Africans, the Caribbeans, the Syrians, the whoever. They've come to Canada and they've become a part of Canada without losing their cultural identity. So you don't have to be worried about this, old Native people. People have done that before you in a lot shorter times.
Like, look at the
But
Chinese
they're
community.
not demanding that the rest of Canada do this for you. This is the onus is on you to take care of your own
Hmm.
and to take care of your own cultural values. It's not mine or Jen's or Pincalo's.
No, I
It's
mean, I'm
our
more
duty
I'm more the type
to
to support them doing it, and
sure,
if
sure,
they
but
ask me for
it's
help in setting
our
them, sure.
responsibility at the end of the day to uphold our cultural heritages, respectively,
You know,
if we have any.
and that's the thing, like, bringing them out into the fold would be good for everybody, because there's a lot of people who really love the native community. They love their history, they love your culture. They don't want to steal it, they just want to learn more about it because they think they can learn something wise from it. And I
Yeah,
have no
yeah.
problems with that. Like, one of my social studies teacher, she got lucky in that she was invited to watch a Sundance. One of those ones where, like, they hang a guy with hooks. I don't think they're allowed to do that anymore,
Oh,
but
jeez.
it's like a coming of age thing. And she talked about it. Like, she went to the reserve, and at first no one would talk to her, and she thought, am I doing something wrong? Am I not welcome here? And then she was outside with a guy, and she offered him a smoke, and it was just one of those cultural things. Well, once she offered him the smoke, he could tell her about what it was that she didn't know. you know and that's really important for people to experience. It's really important because then we understand each other and then we communicate with each other. um I feel that loss a lot. I don't know about you, Functional, but I feel that loss a lot because growing up, I'm sure you experienced this too, that you could make friends with anybody and try to learn as much as you wanted about them just because you liked them.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that's what Trudeau has brought to our country. He's brought the biggest
He's brought back
split.
division. Yeah.
He has.
And I've ever since I was a kid, it didn't matter. Your immutable characteristics, as far as
Hmm.
race or culture or what have you, never really mattered to me. It was, do I like you? Do we get along? Do you have cool stories? Do you have cool toys that we can play with and talk about? And as a kid,
That's all that matters.
that's all that mattered to
That's
me,
all
and
that matters.
that's all that still matters to me.
You
I'm
know,
not
and
going to look at Satsu or your boy Pat differently because black. Why? Why? What's the point? It seems so illogical to me. What attracts me to them is they make good content. They're funny, down to earth guys. It's the same way I would look at Kyler or Shio.
and I can say with all sincerity that, like, little Aaliyah is the most adorable baby in the world right now. Like, I mean, not saying that there aren't more adorable babies too, but every time I see her, I'm like, man, if I could just go visit Satsu so I could give that cute little baby a hug.
Oh
I don't care what.
please.
I
Oh
don't
please,
care,
Jen. Like you would just hug her. You'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna eat those toes." You'd fucking
right?
shove that foot in your mouth so fast. You'd be like, "Oh my god, this is so awesome."
So cute.
I know how women operate. I lived with them my entire life.
It's not a matter of her color. She's a beautiful little girl, and you know
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
I've always
Who has good parents?
who has good parents, who has a good family. Like, Satsu's side of the family looks beautiful. Like, they look like a beautiful group of
His
people.
brother's hilarious whenever he pops on stream and like talks shit about Satsu for a second and then runs off.
I love Squishy too. Like, she's great.
Well, no,
I
Shio, I'll judge you. Oh, fuck yeah, I'll judge you. But I'm not going to judge you on skin color, race,
Alone. That's
the
not
fact
enough
that you're
for me.
American.
I can't-
I know. Ragging on judging you because you're American would be easy. I know, low-hanging fruit. But, I'm not going to do it because...
I'm not going to do it because there's an awful lot about the U.S. right now that I admire a lot. It's a lot of things that
Electoral
I'd
college.
like to see more up here.
Yeah, yeah.
Not all
like
of it,
like
obviously,
I've said, I still think that both America and Canada have a lot to learn from each other.
Absolutely.
We do. We are probably
the best partners.
We really are. And yes, being so geographically linked is a big part of it. But, explain North and South America, We don't have America doesn't have that level of connection they did with Mexico. Wonder why that is. You know, it's because we do share at the core, we're almost indistinguishable. Yes, there are differences in politics and entertainment.
We were never a part of Spain.
No, I agree, Shio. Again, we have a lot of things in common that and we do have a lot of things that we can learn from each other, because yes, it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It's not X, Y, Z. It's X, Y, Z. And there's no U in couleur. We're not French. It's color. Yes. English is great. It's probably the greatest language ever created because it's so easily to evolve from pre-existing languages like French, like Latin, blah, blah, blah. But it eventually gets to a place where, well, this is now English. So it's COLOR. There's certain words, I'm not going to get too deep into the grammar thing, where yes, the U does have a place. Neighbor. Neighbor has its place in, the U has its place in neighbor. It's not OR, it's OUR, but yeah. Anyway, back to the pipeline stuff. You said you had stuff to...
I do. I just need to make sure I'm posting the right one, and I kind of have to pee.
Well, okay. Here, I'll make you a deal. Before you pee, link me some of the stuff, because I can't show the...
I'm just not sure what I have, because like I know I had something on Twitter that I was going to share, but it wasn't... I
can show StreamYards. It'll just show the full StreamYards thing. But if you want to go pee, go do that. I can bring up some cute little...
Yeah, maybe do that, just because my pee button is going like, if you don't go right now,
go, get the fuck out of here. So a couple cute little stories, animal related, of course, because I'm a sucker for animals. I love the widow animals. A fox wanders into British Parliament, tours building, and is probably one of the smarter beings in there at that point. As you can see, this tweet from Carl Turner, an MP in the British Parliament. This cute little guy. There's the Bobby just kind of like standing at the doors going, wait, what? Who did I just let in the building? And this cute little fox decided to tour his way around the British Parliament. I thought that was really cute. And there was, I don't know if it's important or anything. Kerry McCarthy, an MP from the Labour Party, said she missed the fox's visit Thursday, but she later found the animal had left droppings outside her office door. So clearly the fox is not a supporter of the Labour MPs. That's good on you, Mr. Fox. The police captured the fox on the 4th floor of the building and carried it outside in a box before releasing it. So, no real harm, no foul, just a little fuck you to this Labour MP by dropping a turd outside her door. And another cute story was, but also weird, this box containing 2 newborn bear cubs left at North Carolina man's house. A North Carolina man who spotted a box on his front walkway when he returned from the store looked into the container and was shocked to discover 2 bear cubs inside. Keep this on mute, show you some of the animated footage. Where is it again? So this gentleman's house, go away, ad. Left a... You can see the cute little bear cubs. Like, these are newborn cubs. These are tiny, haven't even opened their eyes yet, bear cubs. Defenseless. Aww. So...
Looking like little monkeys almost. Because of the way they're curled up in the toes.
Quote, I see the box sitting right on my walkway, right here, close to my car. And I looked inside and I thought I saw Tasmanian devils. Williams told the TV station. A closer look revealed the animals in the box were 2 unborn bear cubs. Newborn, not unborn. Jesus Christ. Quote, if the mama bear would have seen me in the yard, I would have been a happy meal, Williams said. Yeah, no shit. If you ever educational point time with functional kids. If you ever come across bear cubs, run.
Yeah.
Just run. Mama bear is generally not too far away. And if you appear anywhere within eyeshot and she sees you as a threat, you are going to be a fucking happy meal. They will attack. Most bears generally don't see humans as a food source, especially if they're unbothered and you're a bit of a distance away. Mama bears are very territorial. Very territorial. If you were even within smelling distance of the cubs, there's a good chance she will be standoffish. She will be aggressive, and she will try to take your fucking head off. Send a cute cat to Discord DM. Okay, we'll get that a check.
Yeah, I couldn't find that article, so I
No
feel
worries.
kind of bad. I mean, I got
we
another one that's
we
more
kind of
fun.
have an idea of what's been going on, and obviously that last article
Oh,
of
okay. Well, yeah, what I was gonna say, it's not so much that it was an article, as so much as it was Beard Barry. You know who Beard Barry Barbarian is, right? So he was posting, and it's probably the same
Beardy.
strike as what you were talking about, but he's in Ottawa right now, and the strike. I gotta look that up because I do have my Twitter open.
Okay, you can look that up. I'll finish this off.
Yeah.
So yeah, a little quote, a little strange. We don't just run up on this all the time. The sheriff said, "Bears are not strangers to Camden County. We have a very large population, but why would someone leave them deliberately at someone's home?" Yeah, that's just really weird to just leave it at some random person's home. It does look like, because they were wrapped up in some hoodies in a box, that somebody must have come across some abandoned cubs, put them in the box, wrap them up so they don't freeze, and didn't really know what to do with them. Again, little educational spot with functional. You do find abandoned babies in the wild. Don't touch them. Don't approach them. Call animal control. Call the police. And they will send somebody to evaluate the situation, because what may appear as abandoned might not be abandoned. And for quite a few species, if mama animal comes back and smells human or these foreign smells because you touched them, in a lot of like bird cases, they'll eat the birds. In a lot of in quite a few mammalian species, they'll abandon them. Or they might get treated differently. Just hands off approach. Let the experts handle this stuff. If there is a clear case of them being abandoned or injured, then yes, do your part to try to stabilize them. But once again, as soon as you can, get on that phone, call the authorities, call the experts, and let them do their job, because that's why they're the experts. So yeah, you were saying.
So I did share what he posted, because he actually went to the demonstration and he was filming.
Okay.
I don't have his permission to share it necessarily. I might
Well, don't
share a
share
little
the
bit of it.
don't share the tweet, but like you can tell me what he said, or is it a video?
So basically, I'll just read what he
If
read
it
in the.
Because
in
if
that
if it is a video, we could watch it. I don't mind putting it on my show, because we're gonna do a little critique and breakdown of it. If it's just to watch it, then no, I don't want to just.
Okay,
use
so
it because-
it's a minute long. It's not actually his video. Like I'm on the site, so he's just sharing it. He said that he went down though, so
Okay.
I'm grateful to know there are a whole lot of protests going down in major cities across Canada. Nobody wants this except the RCMP and their puppet masters. So there was a march downtown Laurier on the 7th, so yesterday, and so I'll mute it. I mean, they're just doing that, so. Yeah, I guess something to do with the RCMP and the wetlands. It's another one of those things where I don't doubt that this is hypocrisy from the Liberals. You know.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Let me try to bring this up on my stream. Just give me 1 second.
Sure,
ladies
you're
and
fine.
Gentlemen. Get that.
like I said, it's all coming back to the RCMP and the way that the government has been using them as like thugs, basically.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, it's up on screen. So we're just looking at the people marching by.
Yeah, I figured it's safer not to play it. I mean, they're just making marching
Slogans
sounds
and stuff.
anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I think we're probably closer to being people on a similar coin who just aren't communicating properly because yeah, I don't know what's going on here. But like I said, everything seems to keep tying back in. But hey, if I hammer on the Beard Berrien guy long enough, maybe we can get him in as a guest. So I'll stop sharing.
Yeah, because he's from
Toronto. He's in Ottawa right now. Like he seems to move a lot.
Isn't he
with
from
his work.
Vancouver?
I think
isn't that his like primary residence, Vancouver?
No.
I know he travels a bit.
He was up until
Or BC,
I believe before Christmas he was living in Manitoba.
Oh, okay.
And I think he was there for a good year. So I know he's been I know he lived in Ontario before that.
And yeah, fuckers, you can see right here at GentiMaxi3. Follow her on Twitter.
Yay! Yeah, he's one of those guys that I'd like to talk to too, just because he has done a lot.
Oh, damn it! I did a boo boo. 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 Did a boo boo. Big boo boo. Shit. Where's the link? I'm dumb. I accidentally closed the window with StreamYards on it. Hold on. Let's bring back Jen. Let's bring back the show, because I'm an idiot and accidentally closed the window on you instead of...
It's okay. I was just like,
But yeah, you know, if we could land him, try DMing him or tweeting at him and saying, you know, hey, look, if any time you got some time, you know, we do a little bit of a Canadian show and you're a Cannucklehead, we'd love to blah, blah, blah.
Like I said, like he travels a lot, and I want to get as many Canadians on the show as we can from different perspectives. Like, it's like I said, I want to start a conversation. I also made a joke with Peter the other day, and I'm actually kind of half serious about bringing on a couple Brits and discussing the food that they left us with, because we keep getting blamed for shit that we haven't invented by the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, you want to blame us for ketchup chips? Go ahead, but don't blame us for fucking
back bacon.
Yeah. So this was sent to me by Shio. I don't know what it is. I am gonna play it. From this, Twitter account of Art Milf. This has me losing my absolute shit.
Stuff
my
happening.
butthole. My butthole.
You okay, boy?
I blew up my butthole. Yeah, sorry, Jen. It's gonna just show on the stream, not through StreamYards. Yeah, it's just a cat, you know, going. You probably heard it through the stream, though. I mean, through the headset. No.
Nope.
Oh, okay. Weird. I thought that it would give you the audio, but that kind of interesting. Interesting, Shio. Yeah. Okay. Hold up, Kyler. We'll get to that. I got you covered. I do have to derail 1 minute, though, because there was something interesting. Again, I've talked about how my sister is a... Oh, no, I didn't want to bring that up on stream, because this is my personal Facebook account that I don't like making public. It's very private, friends and family only. But my sister is involved in the educational system here in Toronto, and obviously we've been going through some problems. Let me close that screen. And so it's predicated by a bunch of pictures of basically classrooms for what looks like, you know, younger kids. So maybe grades 3, 4, 5-ish, somewhere around there. And I'm going to read what the post says, because I want to talk about it.
Sure.
Things have changed in school since you were a kid. This is our new normal. Please take a look at these pictures of primary class. Oh, it was a primary class. And imagine how devastating this is for all students and staff involved. The classroom was evacuated after a student started throwing scissors and glue sticks at everyone. It took 15 minutes for support to arrive while the class waited in the hallway. Believe me when I say this happens on a very regular basis. I have so many personal stories that I can't share because of confidentiality, but even seeing these pictures gives me PTSD. This is not okay. This is why I'm striking tomorrow. And sorry, I don't mean to sound condescending when I'm reading this. It's just, it's hard to get through. Because I want to speak about it, but I want to read it all first before we talk about it. We need more support. We need stronger protections and guidelines for our admin to follow. We need help. We are not okay with room trashing, getting hit, bit, scratched, having to use our bodies to protect our students, not having our students' needs being met, dodging desks, chairs, and scissors, etc., etc., etc. Does Doug Ford think math scores are going to improve when we are spending hours a week evacuating our classrooms? There is no room for cuts to education. We are barely scrapping by as it is. If you see teachers out picketing this week, please give them a honk and let them know you support a better future for our children.
So I can respond to the first half and say that I remember stories from my aunt that would horrify you. Yeah.
Yeah, there's horror stories from every generation. Let's break it down bit by bit. So, yeah, first off, the schools have changed since, you were a kid, whatever. Not really, but also yes. This is your new normal.
That, but okay.
This is your new normal. That's really unfortunate. Maybe we should have a discussion on why.
I never got the point of school shootings, but maybe they're just aimed at a younger audience. I love you, Shio.
Yes, when shit like that goes down, you have to evacuate the classroom. And, if they're getting to that point that they're being violent and a danger to the kids, then yes, that is part of your job to ensure the safety of the majority of the kids and isolate that one kid. Sure, that's okay. Sure, normalizing PTSD or appropriating these pictures give me PTSD. Shut up.
Like I was gonna say with my aunt. So she was employed as a teacher up until I'd say about 8 years ago. And like I said, she would tell me stories of kids who and she was in a higher grade, she was teaching for high school. And so this is a thing I know about Ontario, is you guys have had issues with schools and kids in classes being violent. This isn't a new issue. It really isn't. It's more of how it's being addressed that I can understand her being angry about it. But she's not asking for it to be addressed. She's asking for more money.
Yes.
She's not asking for it to be addressed. Now, I can understand wanting, if you're in a school where you've had enough incidents with students that you feel you need, maybe an extra security guard or something, I can understand making that conversation with the school board, based off of a school by school situation. That's not what she's talking about. And then she brings up stuff like that, and it's just I can understand if what she was asking for in resources was more training in how to deal with that kind of thing. Like I said, if they're not giving them extra security in case they are in a school where there's volatile students, that's not what she's asking for. She's just
my response, my questions. So Doug Ford is responsible for shitty kids and their parents who, well, let's face it, don't seem to be parents.
No, he's not.
That's on everyone but the parents? I'm apparently confused because this seems like it invalidates a lot of the arguments from the union side in relation to the strike, because she said this is why she's striking. What's the solution to the problem? And says, there's no room for cuts to education. Again, you're lying. They're not cuts. They're rollbacks to promised increases by other governments, by other administrations. What's the solution to this problem, though? No, quote unquote, throwing money at the problem is never the solution. Are we talking having security or police or something in schools? Armed police in schools?
I'm not going that far. I mean, I understand.
No,
where
no,
you're
no,
being
no. These
insecure,
are
but yeah.
questions to the basically the original author, the original poster, and my sister again, who posted this as sort of a. I want to know more. I don't mean to sound condescending when I read it out loud. I hope that in text it doesn't seem condescending. I want to know more because, like you said, like I said, no, throwing money at a problem is never a solution.
So,
It's a band-aid at best on a dam.
a point that's kind of popped up into my head, and I'm basing it off of what you just said, Kyler, because he was pointing out that like teachers back in the 50s didn't put up with any shit from little snot-nosed kids. I'm kind of wondering if, because when I look at schools nowadays, I would say the majority of the teachers are female, right?
Yeah.
Back in the 50s, would you say it was probably closer to a 50-50 split?
No.
No?
No.
No? But there were still more men at the school.
I see where you're going with it. I would say that there were probably. I can't even speak. I can't even speak to that. I would say.
I'm just saying the lack of male presence in the schools might not be a good thing. Just saying. Like I get why things went the way they did.
Well, I'm going to Stats Can.
But it's one of those things where conversations that's come up over the last 10 years. So like,
okay, so in recent years, the split is about 32% men to 68% women. Doesn't have historical. Continue with what you were saying. I'm trying to find.
It's just my train of thought. Like, and I know this sounds a little bit weird, but it's like, the statistics for families doing better because you have a 2-parent household.
Yeah.
You know how it's important for kids to have interactions with both men and women. It's not different for school. Sometimes having a male authority figure and a female authority figure all in the same school.
Okay. The 1960s were a period of unprecedented expansion and reorganization for Canadian education. For example, the Council of Ministers of Education was created to promote blah, 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 blah. These changes brought a demand for improved statistical... Wait, that wasn't what I want. I just read it. Sorry. Okay,
I don't know
so
if that
in
has anything to do
1950...
with it. I just wonder if that isn't sometimes a bit of a thing. Because I just remember growing up, and like the scariest person in the school was supposed to be the principal. And the majority of the time, and I know it changed.
And if you saw the principal, you were in deep shit.
But like the majority of the time growing up, like even in TV shows, the principal was always a man. He was always an old, scary, like, I mean, not scary, but strict dude, right? Like someone that you're not going to fuck around with.
The
Like
head
I
authority,
said, I'm not saying that women can't do that, because they absolutely can. It's just, I think that's something that I'm not seeing a lot in schools. Like I had teachers that didn't have to be aggressive, but they could shut me down really quickly just by talking to me. And I had teachers who were just dumb as hell, and I just stopped talking to them because I realized they were dumb as hell.
Okay, so we're talking the late 60s, early 70s now. No, 1952, right. So 1952 to the 70s. Probably the most significant change in the composition of the teaching force over those 21 years, a fourfold increase in the number of male teachers, while female teachers only doubled their numbers. As a result, the percentage of male teachers went from 30% in 52 to 43% in 73. And yeah, so it's been steadily increasing to have more male teachers. That's very interesting. Very interesting.
It's just one of those things. Like, I don't know where it would go with that, but it's just little things.
And
like
we're talking
that.
Across Canada, so obviously numbers are going to vary a bit depending on the locale, but that's interesting.
It's just one of those things. Like, I don't know how that factors in, or if it does factor in, or what that does. But I know.
I think
like,
more so what you were talking about of, back then and up until, like the 80s, the big divorce wave. Or the lessening of the almost elimination of the stigma of divorce. Having that 2-parent household did breed a better home environment and upbringing for a child. And I would say that what we're talking about with that story, that Facebook post I brought up, was a lot of these parents, I mean, these kids, they might actually be coming from a two-parent home. However, both parents are constantly working or something. The point is that they're not...
they're not getting that two-parent dynamic that you need.
Exactly, where, yes, there's nurturing, there's upbringing, there's compassion and understanding, but there's also rules and limits and repercussions if you break the rules or exceed the limits. There are punishments. And we know from social studies and social polls and stuff and statistics that these types of things have become more stigmatized, that to the point where a lot of these kids don't have any repercussions for bad behavior. And that bleeds out into school. And yes, again, it's not like I don't empathize with the teachers. You shouldn't have to put up with this shit. But then to turn around and say, this is why I'm protesting. No, it's not. You're protesting for more fucking money. And money isn't going to fix this.
When they throw that out too, you know, it's like
really let's identify and start treating the root causes of the problem, absentee parenting, instead of just throwing money. Like I said, if we throw money at it, we'll be putting a Band-Aid on a dam.
All it's going to do is going to encourage them next year to do the same thing if they don't get what they want.
They're using this tactic of emotion that we quite frequently hear on a certain side in today's age. Not saying either side is completely innocent of this, but like this manipulation through emotion by trotting out
how dare you
as your face of climate change. You're trotting out fucking weasel face McDouche nozzle who wasn't even at the shooting for fuck, I forget the name of the school. You know, the big what's his
Columbine?
name? No, after Columbine. More recently, David Hogg.
Oh yeah, that.
You know, trotting out those kids and hiding behind them as a shield. It's disgusting. And these people should be, I mean, if they were capable of it, they should be ashamed of themselves. Anybody who trots out a child as a political shield.
You know, Kyler.
Exactly, Kyler.
You know, I remember an old teacher telling me that boys' memory is in their butt.
Our brains in our ween and our memory is in our butt.
Not all boys. Sometimes it's the girls too. But actually, I think the girls need it more now than they did back then. Because
yes, most boys. When you're a little boy, you're a piece of shit. It's our genetic nature. It's our biology. We can't really help it. What does help is a firm hand to educate and correct us. If I hit my sister, yes, I'm good. I deserve a spanking. I don't deserve to be punched in the face. I deserve, there's a line, a very clear line between abuse and spanking. But again, we've decreased, almost eliminated the stigmas that helped keep kids and home lives stable while stigmatizing the things that destroy them. Single motherhood. I'm not saying that every single mother out there isn't busting her ass to provide for their kid or kids. But it's not the ideal setting to raise them. It just isn't. Anyway, let's move on, shall we? So
I've got a fun article if you don't mind me sharing one next time. It's
if you want to link them to me in Discord so I can easily bring them up, that'd be great, and I can just copy paste. Just DM them to me. I'll bring up. Where are you, Gente Maxi? So other really kind of like big news, because I love my tech news. So Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, the accounts, their social media accounts, got hacked this week by some shit posters. So you'd get a post on Twitter from Facebook, from the official Facebook account. Hi, we are Our Mine. Well, even Facebook is hackable, but at least their security better than Twitter. To improve your account security, contact us, blah, 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 blah. So they're, probably trying to scam people into going to these sites, which are probably malware-infested shitholes. You can tell by their use of grammar, they're probably... I'm just going to go out on a platform and say they're from a certain region in the world that's close to China. Yeah, I mean, this shit happens. At least they didn't do anything malicious, which is good. But this kind of shit happens even to the biggest of companies, because you know why, guys? This stuff, like anything else, evolves and grows. And cybersecurity is an ever-evolving battlefield, just like any other, that people have to keep up with and have to constantly develop new strategies. And yeah, sometimes the hackers beat the defenses. Why? Oh my god. So of course I bring up your article and it's just decides it wants to cut up cut off the side. So I'll try to read it as best I can. Or do you want to... You read it. You have the article, right?
Oh, I just took it down.
Oh my god.
I can do it again. I mean, I just gave it to you, so.
Students at a Colorado university can soon major in cannabis. Ooh.
Right? I think you'd like that.
That's good, because this is a new industry that's making billions of dollars already, can grow to the trillions, if not quadrillions of dollars soon, sooner than later. It's a booming, budding, get it, budding, industry. Excuse me. Jesus, my body just did not like that joke. That pun. That was on the level of cryptic bad. Let's start teaching people how to grow and cultivate it in the right way, instead of leaving that as sort of a black market kind of operation. You got to learn from previous grower dealers, whatever. Did you bring it back up? Do you want me to read it?
I did, yeah.
Okay, good.
Continue.
Good.
So
My
you
mouth is
started
getting
at the
caught.
beginning?
No, I haven't read any of the article. Just.
Okay, I'll run through it pretty quick. So, some students in Colorado will soon be able to major in weed instead of just smoking it in their dorm rooms, which I can appreciate that, because, like you said, it's gonna start booming everywhere. Colorado State University Pueblo just received approval. Yeah, I just received approval for the state's first degree program focused on cannabis. The Denver Post reports. The program is called Cannabis, Biology, and Chemistry, and will be similar to a double major in biology and chemistry, which is pretty good, because it is a chemical. What is that? Okay. Stuff just likes to pop up. Thank you.
Yeah, this page. Oh, Mashable, that's why.
Anyway, I found it. Basically, major in biology and chemistry. Dean of the university's College of Science and Mathematics, David Lempool. Sorry, I can't say your last name well without practice. Lempool. Told the Post, the focus will be learning the science necessary to succeed in the field. Lempool said the degree will be rigorous. He also stated that the university is not pro or anti-cannabis, which I think is fair. I mean, it's like I say about cannabis. Like, I will sit there and cheer for it, but I'm not going to bullshit you like some people do and tell you it's the cure-all, be-all of all things, because it's not. It will not cure all your ails, and it doesn't work for everybody. But anyway,
Shio,
but rather...
Hold on. Shio, go sit in the corner.
What do you say?
Country singer Dolly Parton has been charged with possession of 4 kilos of marijuana. That's a pretty big bust.
I think didn't she get like several breast reductions though?
I don't know.
But anyway, like they're just aware of the fact that the industry is going to grow, and they want students to be prepared. I am okay with this course because you know what it's still doing? It's providing them with work afterwards. It's giving them an idea of a career.
You mean a college education that has real world applications, Jen?
Yes.
It's
amazing.
This is unprecedented. Why haven't you Americans been doing this the entire time? Oh, wait, you did up until the early aughts. Stupid me.
Well, it's also, I'd like to see us, like, replicate that. Because
for sure. Because it's been nationally legalized.
Might as well.
Yeah.
You know, do it right.
I definitely see that happening, though, here. Yeah. We'll probably have it at York
right
University.
I'd be like 38 years old, and I would, be like, hey, can I get a grant, Trudeau? I hate your guts, but if I get a grant, I could probably pay you taxes.
Well, if you knew what you were doing to start up a class like that, you probably could get a grant. Unfortunately, I don't know enough to start it, or hell, I would start one.
Well, yeah, I'd have to do a lot more studying other than just.
I like the link right there at the paragraph that you stopped at. See also, here's how to introduce the boomer in your life to weed.
Right? My dad tried it too. Like, I mean, he was trying the oil for his pain, and it didn't really work. I keep telling him, you have to try different things.
You know what, Shio? For that one, I'm not saying I'm unlucky, but to improve my sex life, I took some Viagra and a bit of cannabis. I just ended up with stiff joints. That was a good one.
Yeah, so that's basically it.
That's pretty cool. That's
yeah.
I really appreciate. I couldn't get past that second after the shh. My mouth was seizing up or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I figured you'd like that one because, like I said, it's progress. It's progress.
It really is.
I get that not everybody approves of pot, but you know what? Not everybody approves of beer either. So,
it's not that I don't approve of beer, but there are certain aspects. Like, don't drink 6 beers and then get behind the wheel of your F-150 and go driving.
And that's how I feel about pot.
Sure. I mean, now, on a individual, because that's the law we have to have on the books to cover everyone. Now, on an individual level, yes, I know people who 6 beers probably wouldn't affect their driving. Just like me, I know that I could smoke a half pound of weed and then get behind the wheel of a car and be perfectly fine. However, that's not the majority, so I'd rather err on the side of public safety and caution and say, no, you can't do that. Sorry. Not sorry. Anyway, so we were talking, I'm going to shift us over to America because there's been some cool stories I want to talk about, with our cousins to the south, and then, we'll probably wrap up after that. Your stories, yes, we'll do that one at the end, the Ohio man one. Because that one, I read the title, and I'm like, hey, that looks like a really interesting story.
Yeah, I thought that. I was like, this looks like something that would, like everything else I have, I might not do.
So we were talking about pizza, and they were giving us shit for the Canadian invention of pineapple on pizza. And you know what? What we were just talking about. I don't approve of pineapple on pizza. I'm not going to stop you from eating pineapple on pizza. Elwyn just gave me a dirty look. Why? You like pineapple on pizza? Only Little Caesars. So you know what? Maybe we'll have to get some. Maybe she'll convert me to the House of Pineapple Pizza and order it from Little Caesars. Anyway, in honor of National Pizza Day, Grubhub shared its pizza order data, and this is how America eats pizza. So it was just interesting. Blah, 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 blah. So the trendiest pizzas of the year: Margarita pizza at number 1, Garlic Supreme pizza at number 2, a mac and cheese pizza at number 3, which sounds utterly disgusting. Yes,
yeah.
I don't like mac and cheese, but that's just carbs and carbs and carbs and fat and fat and fat. That's just all carbs and fat.
You know, not that long ago, I can't remember if it was Burger King or if it was KFC, but they had that mac and cheese that was like breaded and then fried.
Mm.
That's what it
See,
sounds like.
now I've made some really good what do you call them? Crocs? The deep fried mac and cheese balls. But it was mac and cheese coating some sort of center. So one was like a ground beef sort of Tex-Mex center. The next one was a super cheesy center where I added, three different styles of types of cheese in addition to the regular mac and cheese. Another one was fajita, or I think I did a shrimp one as well. Anyway, and then it was just coated in the mac and cheese and then rolled in panko and then deep fried. They were cool little snacks. But no, I know what you mean by like a big tray and it's got like a half an inch of like breadcrumbs that were fried, right? Is that what you mean? Like the overly fried one?
Yeah, yeah, it looked like a Cheeto, basically.
Yeah, no. Chicken ranch and bacon pizza. Now, again, I'm not a fan of ranch, but that does actually appeal to me. The ranch, especially a lot of places use the ranch as like the sauce instead of tomato sauce. Chicken bacon pizza, really fucking good. Love it. Number 5, Neapolitan. And then it breaks down into the different geographical regions of the Americas. In that, Midwest, it's Detroit deep dish. Gluten-free pizza was number 2. Margarita, taco, mac and cheese pizza. Northeast, Neapolitan. Brooklyn, Sicilian, buffalo chicken, bruschetta. In the South, they like their supreme pizza, another Canadian pizza. Greek pizza, chicken barbecue pizza, Mexican pizza, spinach and artichoke. And in the West, it's pesto, everything garden, Mexican, Hawaiian. They seem to like it a little bit more simplistic in the West, Those are very simple pizza recipes.
Yeah, my favorite one is called a Canadian out here, and it's basically pepperoni, mushrooms.
Where, Kyler? Where the Godfather from where? Because I know a couple places that do Godfather that I'm like, yeah, man, I agree with you, where it has like ground beef and pork and chicken and like onions and green peppers, and it's just so good. It's like really heavy on the variety of meat, and every bite is just so delicious.
So James says that they have a baked bean pizza in the UK. I could see that. I just don't know how I feel.
Of course they do. We were just talking about how America and Canada can learn more about one another. You know what, Brits? I think you should take a look at your North American brethren and maybe learn a little bit from us. Like you were saying, Jen, with their food practices, and maybe you guys should stop eating garbage.
I mean, it's not
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Like, it's actually amazing. Like, some of the stuff that's actually more traditional looks good. It actually doesn't look bad. I mean, you could probably use different techniques to make it better. Because I know historically, you guys just picked up tips differently from everybody else because you're on an island separated from the rest of Europe. But not everything that they make is horrifying. It's just there's some stuff that they make that I'm just like,
yeah, you know what? Who said that? Straight Sith male. Blame HuffPost. This is a HuffPo article. Pretty much all they talk about is fluff and Orange Man bad. Okay, so last 3 from me, mostly political stuff. Sure. Here's what Andrew Yang gets wrong about systematic racism. So he's pretty much the only one telling his other cohorts in the DNC race that no, systematic racism does not exist. You people are insane.
Lindsay!
Hey, Cynical Lindsay. Yeah, welcome. I'm not going to go through everything, but yeah, he's basically telling them, no, systematic racism is a dumb idea. And he, like we've talked about before, Jen, he's like, no, it's the lines are drawn economically. They're not, and socially to a point, but mostly economically. It's not about racism, and that isn't to say that there aren't racist people out there. But on the grand scale, it's not about racism, because he, as an Asian person of Asian, his parents were first generation immigrants, are treated the same in most aspects of life that the next guy is, who might be black, that the next guy is, who might be white, that the next guy is, who might be Italian or Russian or Zimbabwean, you know. And he's right about that. Love him or hate him, Yang is right. The rest of the DNC candidates are completely wrong. Again, one of the big reasons why a liberal like myself looks at the DNC, looks at the Liberal Party, and says, "No, you're fucking, you're dumb, you're dumb." Okay. And here's a Ashley Jordan. We've brought her up. She seems to be a frequent guest of this this podcast by this point, because she's a feminist, guys. Stunning and brave. Stunning and brave. Here's what happened when I founded a feminist group in my Trump-loving town. It's forced me to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, unpopular and unliked, while wondering whether my family might suffer for my decision. Again, we're trying to get through them pretty quick. I read this beforehand. I'm going to give you the Coles notes because I don't want to read every last paragraph. And I'm not going to give her the satisfaction of having her words on our stream. Even though, you know, whatever. She moved to this town intentionally knowing it was a Trump-loving town. Intentionally instigated her neighbors with signage on her lawn that would say things like, "Hate has no home here." Basically preaching to her neighborhood. Yeah, she's intentionally doing these things to get in her middle America community's face, to instigate, to be one of those people who go, "Hey guys, see, look, I found the racists, I found the Trump-loving bigots and everything." No, you're instigating. And they don't like you because you're a bitch. We probably don't like you also because you're a feminist and a useless piece of shit, but they primarily hate you because you're a bitch. And there's no getting around that, Ashley.
So I have to say, this is just a joke and not an appropriate one for a YouTube video, but my response to James is, hey, what can men do that women can't? You can fap. I mean, not saying that women can't masturbate, but it's definitely not the same thing. If I had a pole that all I had to do was yank on, things would be a lot different.
Exactly, Lindsay. You know, yes, she wants to be that gotcha girl, but she's also got that sadistic need to be oppressed. Like most modern day feminists.
Which is why she goes around trying to oppress everybody else in her neighborhood.
Yeah.
Which is ironic, because I don't think she realizes that that's what she's doing.
So other, I don't want to call it big news, but it's being talked about a lot. So Antarctica hit the 64.9 degrees mark, the highest temperature ever recorded on the continent. You know, it's a good thing we've only been recording temperatures for, especially in Antarctica, for what, 50 years, 60 years, 70 years? Not a long time. Considering the planet's been around 65 billion years. That's not really a long... Okay, let's brush that aside just for a moment. Do these people realize we're still in the regression of an ice age?
I don't
Probably
think they do.
not. Exactly. They probably don't realize this. And that, yes, it's going to get warmer before it starts to get colder again. Remember, the ice age is receding before it will spread again. And in several hundred, maybe a couple thousand years, we'll have to start dealing with the ice shelf moving back down across more northern regions of populated areas. But until that point, guys, not really a big deal. Not really a big deal. No. Okay, gonna bring up New York Post. Ugh, Jen, you're killing me.
Sorry.
No, that's all good. Like I said, I like hearing from all aspects because you know me, I'm an engager. I like to engage people in their bullshit. Because every once in a while, maybe it isn't bullshit, and I learn something, and it helps influence my worldview. And great, bring it on. I want to be educated or better informed. Most of the time, it's whatever stuff that we've already come to expect from places like HuffPo, New York Post, Bill Maher. Meh. So, Ohio man lives in an underground house he built 40 years ago. That's pretty cool. I can already see there's a little bit of his roof here. He's got skylights, ventilation, and a nice lawn on top of his house. In 79, Bill Scherbauer built his underground home in Centerville, Ohio, and has lived there ever since, also called a sheltered earth house. It gets sunlight versus skylights. Oh, I'm getting a little hoarse in the throat.
This thing looks so cool. This is yeah, I used to have thoughts about how cool it would be to own like an old bunker.
He's got like a modern day Hobbit house.
Yes, he does.
Look at this, guys. He's got like obviously back here where the grassy knoll is, you can see JFK. No, I mean is probably where the bulk of his house is under the ground here. But this front facade he's got is really cool, sort of almost deceptive. So like if you're looking straight from the front, it looks like a normal house, but no indoor shots. Damn, that sucks. That's really cool. I want one. I've always wanted to live in a hobbit hole.
Well, it's like I said, it's one of those things where I completely understand that because I've oftentimes thought about like how cool it would be to find a bunker, fix it up, renovate it up so it's current and you can live in it. That sounds fantastic. Like you feel like you save more space that way because everything up top you can utilize.
Yeah, like that first picture showed. He has a lawn.
He has a lawn. It
just happens to be above his house instead of in front of his house or beside his house.
You save a lot of space, and I can't help thinking the insulation that he has in there is probably fantastic because people have been living underground. Like I'm just saying, Ireland is an example. Like they did live in burrows, so did Scotland. Living like that, it isolates you from the cold, and it also keeps you cool in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always been my issue is I don't have a problem with the cold unless it's too cold. Like when you put on enough covers that you're like, I'm still cold, that's an issue. But when you're overheating,
yeah, one of the best insulators we have. One of the best insulators, and you're right, like because the ground, it's going to keep you cool in the summer, keep you warm in the winter. It's really good insulation. And the last thing I wanted to just quickly mention, because this just came out yesterday, that the Treasury Department turns over Hunter Biden's financial docs to the Senate Republicans. This was lost in the whole Pelosi and Trump and the POTUS speech and all that. But, oh my God, another win for the Senate Republicans. And this is only going to add to that pile of salt.
I know, right?
Fucking just, I want to,
I take a look at my enormous penis and my troubles start to melt away.
I don't doubt all their fingers are into something.
Oh yeah, yeah.
This
is why I think that they've been scrambling so hard to push the Orange Man bad.
I believe you.
Yeah, because they know that they've got their dirty little fingers, and somebody's gonna open up that closet and start exposing their skeletons, and they are fucking deathly afraid of this because I would be too. All my less than savory wheelings and dealings in government being exposed. Oh my God, there goes my meal ticket. I can't wait until we see more Bernie Sanders. Well, we can keep exposing people like Bernie Sanders as much as they want. His fucking zealous cult is gonna keep.
I feel really bad for him. Like it's one of those things. Like I feel bad saying that because I don't agree with him at all politically.
I don't. He's not a part of the DNC though, Jen.
I know.
This is their club that they're basically saying, we don't want you a part of. We don't care what anybody says. You are not a part of our political establishment, so fuck off. And I don't care if you're going to get the votes, but I understand, getting screwed over by the
in the way it's an instinctual thing for me to do that, because I can't help seeing him as a crazy grandpa, you know, and I try to distance myself from that because I do believe he's probably a likable guy in person.
Sure.
I don't doubt that he's probably a really likable guy in person. But I can't agree with his politics. I would never vote for him because of his politics.
Yeah.
I can't stand people treating the elderly like that, you know? It goes against it goes against the way I was raised.
Well, he is the eldest of elderly. But yeah, we gotta speed this along. I've got engagements.
Sorry.
Yeah, Cynical Lindsay, it probably will, and hopefully it will inspire the DNC to really get some take a step back, get some introspection, and readjust, because like I've been saying, we need stronger parties.
Well, I'm hoping that conservatives, and I know Bernier is watching. Bernier is absolutely watching.
Yeah, of course. But we don't. What I would say to voters from both sides is, don't rest on the laurels of the presidential election like you did last time, and don't ignore the congressional elections and the Senate elections and what have you. The other elections do matter. So get out there, be active.
Oh, yeah.
Do your vote, do your part, your civic duty, not your mandatory service, but your civic duty. It is kind of a duty. I just like saying duty, howdy doody. And go out and vote, you know?
Let me just say, it would be really nice to see the U.S. kick Elizabeth Warren out of her district, and it would be really nice to see Nancy.
Yeah, I would love to see
Nancy
quite a
kicked
number
out
on
that list. I could name them all, but I don't want to remember everybody's name. But you know, especially in the districts where you can see that they've been running shitholes,
like AOC.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's on that list. There's a lot of them on that list. That's why I'm not listing everybody. Cause
I really hope America wakes up and votes these people who are literally trying to kill your country, and vote them out. So, but yeah. Oh boy. So next show, Tuesday, regular time, 5 p.m. Eastern. That'll be on Jen's channel.
Yes, it will.
Thank you so much for everyone coming out. I hate to bring this up because it just makes me uncomfortable shilling. But once again, the new donation meter is to not so much ask for money for this, but just to know that any donations throughout the month of February on my show is going to go towards getting Elwyn into cyberspace and playing games with everybody. She was a little disheartened that she couldn't play 7 Days to Die with us the other night with some of the Minions boys and myself. That she can't play Ark with Jen or myself or Monkey. You know, just her RAM died, so she can't really. That's kind of a hurdle, and we can't really get to it. So if you do donate, thank you so much ahead of time. But that's where it's going to go to for this month of February. Did you set up Streamlabs yet?
I've had one for a while. I just don't.
You just haven't sent me the link.
I
keep meaning to ask you before the show so I can put it in the link with it. Yeah, I'll put it in for the next one. But of course, like I said, we'll be on Jen's channel on Tuesday and Thursday. Back here next week on Saturday, coming strong. We will get to that last article on Tuesday, though, Jen, because I did want to talk about that, and I forgot that we had it, and it's kind of disgusting because Trudeau's a piece of shit.
Yes, I just said, you know, at least it's on the Discord, so we, you know, as long as you don't delete it, it's still there. So I posted mine in the chats for the stream. I will actually, you know what? I'm gonna link that to your Discord anyway, just because.
Cool.
I keep meaning to do that when I stream, guys. This is how you know we're not really professionals yet, because we still have a little bit of work to do.
Well, that's why why do you think I keep Elwyn around? She's my #1 fan. She keeps shilling my shit on different.
She is your
She
star.
shills me. Yeah, well, dude, yeah, she shills me on other channels, on our shows, and fucking great. I couldn't ask for a better partner. Like she's.
Yeah, but the next time I stream, remind me to give that I get your Streamlabs from you, because I can still put it into the description.
Sure.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I see everybody doing all this stuff, and in the beginning I wasn't gonna do any kind of shilling because I wanted to.
DM Chio. We didn't set up one for Snow Mexicans.
Like the only reason I haven't really been doing that
but
yet.
don't. I mean, we kind of use the rock, but we don't.
Yeah, I'm sure Functional's not much different than me. It's like we don't want to start off shilling when we're brand new. It's just like right now we're in.
People have been really, really kind.
Mm-hmm.
Again, because Elwyn's been shilling. I've been really fortunate that people have thrown me a couple shekels here and there, and I can't thank you guys enough. Shio, the other my game stream, with his jokes and his donations, I can't thank you enough, because it gives me that warm fuzzy feeling in the cockles of my heart, even though I don't have a heart. I'm a cold, heartless bastard. But anyway, guys, I have been functional most of the time, and I'd like to thank my co-host Genty Maxi as always, and you guys for showing up, because you guys are I know it's fucking cliche at this point, but you guys are the real stars of the show, because you come out to listen to two Cannuckleheads, two Snow Mexicans rants and rave and talk shit on the interwebs. So that really helps. That makes us feel good, because we're not just yelling at each other.
So there is one more maybe shilling from me. I don't know if I'm going to do it or not, because it's always based off of my computer.
Yeah.
But if I can handle it and handle both of them, I've been playing on Universe Man's Arc server. So
is it modded?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I've been looking for a good one.
Yeah,
okay.
So I'll let I mean, I don't know if you're on his Discord, but I'll ask him. Because he doesn't care, but I'll ask him anyway, because I'm.
No, don't worry. I'll ask him. I'm in his Discord, and
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think he's streaming right now.
Yeah. I was gonna join him afterwards. So cool. If I can get both the game and my OBS to function at the same time, because sometimes the two don't like that, I might stream that afterwards, because I'm not fully back into the Arc, but I miss Arc. I'll probably play it for a month and be like, okay, I never want to see another dinosaur again.
Once I finish dinner, I'll probably. Well, actually, no, I've got Warcraft stuff to do tonight, but I'll probably be on the server all weekend. Anyway, I'm gonna close it out, because it's dinner time for me and Elwyn, and we got stuff to do. So once again, thank you everybody for coming out again for another episode of the Snow Mexicans. Bye, everybody.